So thank you all for joining us. Before we begin this presentation, there's a couple housekeeping notes in case you are just now joining us. Please mute your microphones if they are not muted already. We are also broadcasting in English and Spanish. And if you would like to join the Spanish translation channel, look for the globe icon on your Zoom bar at the bottom. And there you can select the Spanish translation resource for you. In the chat for this Zoom, there are also a few resource links available to you as well. And for those of you that have to leave early or may not able to make it today, this recording will be available on YouTube for you at the end of this session. And we will also post any questions that we didn't get to in the comments of those YouTube posts and respond to them as well. So promoting your World Migratory Bird Day event is the topic of this presentation. And this is for everybody that's an educator, an event organizer, or community members hosting your events. This is the 5th presentation and the 5th training for World Migratory Bird Day. If you have not seen the other training videos, they are available for you on our YouTube channel. To go to our YouTube channel, it is Environment for the Americas 2876, or you can just YouTube Environment for the Americas and it'll come up for you. And there you can view our training sessions, such as talking about the theme of this World Migratory Bird Day, as well as how to organize your events. And on the Zoom presentation today, I'm joined by a few of my colleagues in the World Migratory Bird Day team. This is all of their contact information for your representative for your region, and they can answer any questions you have about organizing your events after this presentation and can get resources to you if you need them. All right, so let's get started. This presentation is going to cover a few topics related to promoting your events. We're going to talk about understanding your audience and your community. We're also going to talk about a couple of different physical promotion strategies, whether it's flyers or posters. We're also going to talk about a few different digital promotion strategies, things like social media or emailing. And then we're also going to talk about how you can still promote your event on the day of the event and what to do after your event is over and how to join the global World Migratory Bird Day community. And then after that, we're also going to have a question and answer section. I also have my colleague Paulina Gutierrez on here with us today, and she's going to talk a little bit about social media and creating effective social media posts. And so she'll be joining us near the end of the session. Okay, so the most important part of any communication, whether it's promoting an event or any type of writing, any material that you're creating, whether it's print or digital, the most important thing is understanding your audience and your community. Without understanding your audience and your community, you don't really have an idea of how to properly target them for promotion or just how to use the language and the verbiage to be able to communicate your ideas with them. So when identifying your audience and your community, you want to ask yourself a few questions. What are the age groups that we're going to be promoting to? What languages do they speak? Where are they located? What motivations do they have for coming to a World Migratory Bird Day event? And so when you start to ask these questions, you get a better sense of who our audience is. And it's really, really easy to say, well, we want everybody to come to these events, but really everybody can't be the entire audience. It's always much more narrow than that. And so by asking these questions to yourself, you'll have a better understanding of what kind of materials can I create to reach my audience that will come to my event. And so once you have an idea of your audience, you kind of have an idea of what channels you might be able to reach them towards, whether it's social media or a printed material. There's a few different options for physical and digital materials for promotion. You can do press releases, newspapers, flyers, posters, advertisements. All of these things are viable options for promoting your event. And you can also do social media and digital advertisements or texting or an email newsletter. There's really no shortage of ways that you can communicate with your audience. But it goes back to understanding who your audience is. And then that'll give you a much better idea of what kind of materials you should be creating to bring people to your event. So we'll start with printed materials. And print materials could be anything from flyers or posters to banners, billboards, newspaper articles, anything that is in a physical form. And so there's a couple points I would like to make when it comes to making physical promotional materials, whether it's a flyer, a newspaper, or anything like that. And this can really be applied to any kind of writing in general. But what you want to write about in these materials is who, what, when, where, why, and how. And that's how you want to describe your event. You want to be very clear, very concise, and you want to really describe your event in a very simple way so that everybody knows who's doing the event, what is the event, when is the event, where is the event, and why this event is happening. Why are you inviting people to this event? Why is it so special? And so no matter what material you plan to produce to promote your event, these are things that you should be essentially answering in your promotional materials. And so a few other things with physical print promotion that I think is really important is to keep it clear, keep it concise, and also keep it colorful, especially for World Migratory Bird Day. One of the main reasons we all are attracted to birds is their colors. And so we like to reflect that a lot in our promotional material as well. And if there's a couple different tactics you can use to gain attention to your print materials. And one of those is by using photographs. And so I have on here an example that we've used that Paulina, who will be speaking later in this session, created for our own World Migratory Bird Day event this year in Boulder, Colorado. And so you can see that we incorporated some photographs from our past events that show what this event will be like. It's got images of people that would be at this event. So you can see it's going to be family oriented. There's children there. The language is very clear about what it is. It's not overloaded with text, but it's also very colorful and it's simple. It gets the point across. So anytime you're making a physical piece of printed promotion, it's important to just keep it simple, keep it clear, say who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then the important information like when it is and where it is. And that's really what it comes down to for physical promotion. When it comes to social media promotion or digital promotion, it gets a little more complex. There are a lot of social media options and a lot of digital promotion options. It can certainly seem a little overwhelming with all of these different platforms. But my advice to you is to pick three. Really identify your audience and choose three social media or digital platforms that your audience is using and will engage with, and do those three channels really well than trying to do all of these channels not so well. So it goes back to understanding who your audience is and what platforms they are using, but also what platforms do you use? What platforms are you familiar with, and how will you be able to actually maintain a presence on these platforms to promote your event? So a lot of times when people are trying to choose them, it's a combination of, okay, so I know that my audience and my community uses Facebook a lot. So let's choose Facebook. And I also know how to post on Facebook. So yeah, we'll choose that one. Email newsletter may not be the best idea for certain communities because people just don't use those in my particular community. And that's absolutely fine. So my advice is to pick three social media platforms instead of picking more than three, and focus on those three and do those three well and maintain a good presence on those three, and make sure that those three are ones that your community is using, and then use it to promote your event. And so one of the other things also on social media that's really important is to be social. Um, you respond to comments and respond to questions that people might be messaging you. If you're using Facebook, create a Facebook event and invite people there. Also tag the different educators that are going to be participating in your event, the presenters, any guests that you have. Really try to be inclusive in your social media posts for your event and really kind of be social with it. Reshare anytime you're tagged in something, reshare those posts on your page and highlight the other things that people are doing and build a community around your event digitally before the event's even happening. And that's just a really great way to utilize social media to its maximum effect. And the more familiar that people see something, the more likely they are to participate in it. So when it comes to like the social media promotion, you should probably be promoting your event a few weeks before the event itself. So that way people seem familiar with it. They know when it's going to be. You're connecting with your educators, you're connecting with your presenters and your guests. And that's really just going to build a community around you. And so there's a couple different strategies for social media promotion that I would like to mention. Things that do really well are pictures, activities, short promotion. Here we go. Pictures, short videos, highlighting your activities and just informative posts about your event do really well on social media. And so you can see here's a couple posts that I've selected from past World Migratory Bird Day events as examples. Um, Photographs of your activities happening, your education stations. These are all things that do really well. And things to kind of avoid would be a lots of text in your images, especially for platforms like Instagram or YouTube or TikTok or even Facebook. Something like this can do well. It does have a lot of text on it, but it also has a lot of image and pictures. When you have an image that's all text, people will not read it. They will just scan past it. And so my advice for building social media posts is to kind of always avoid more text and tell the story and the information through the pictures itself, and then use the description of that social media post to talk about your event details. There's also a couple other things to avoid as well, things that are offensive or depict violence. We also really discourage anything that looks like it would be harming a bird or anything that could contradict the values and goals of the World Migratory Bird Day campaign. Another thing to also avoid is just low quality pictures. So if you're going to be posting pictures, make sure that they're high enough quality that they don't appear blurry or a low resolution image. You really want it to look as professional as possible and just as clear as possible. And so there's one other thing I would like to mention with social media. We've had these applications for a long time now, and I'm sure most of you are very familiar with using them. But I do feel like this needs to be said is that when you're connecting and being social on social media with other people, please do not give out any personal information or credit card information or anything like that. It, it might be a little off topic here, but I just feel like it's important to note that and to say that in this presentation while I'm also advocating for being social on social media, is do protect your personal information on social media at the same time. And engage with people, answer people's questions, and reach out to people, but certainly keep that personal information not online. And so the last piece of promotion that is probably the most effective promotion outside of print and digital is in-person promotion. It really is the original social media, and it is the most effective way to get people to come to your events. So inviting people in person, people that you meet, talk to, your colleagues, your friends, your neighbors, um, inviting them in person is going to be the most effective way to bring people to your event. And this can either be in person, face to face. You can call them, you can text them, you can use WhatsApp and start group chats there. You can share with your friends and family. But this is definitely the most effective way to get to people to come to your events. And if you don't do any sort of social media or digital promotion and you don't do any print promotion, you can still have a successful event by doing just in-person promotion and inviting people directly. It is hands down the most effective way to get people to come to your events. And it's not to say to disregard the social media promotion or the print promotion, um, but you're going to have a much more effective turnout by being on the ground, inviting people to your events face to face, and it's going to be a much higher rate of success for people to actually attend if you invite them in person. So you've organized your event, you've planned everything, you've promoted it, and now it's time for the day of the event. So what do you do during your event? And so if you're using a social media platform for promotion and building your events, one of the best things to do is to post from your event. You can do this very easily on Instagram or Facebook with stories or just simple posts. Snapchat, if you're using Snapchat or WhatsApp even is also a good way to do this by sending pictures. Um, Posting from your event will get a lot of people that are maybe in the area and don't know that it's happening to come and join your event. Or it'll also just get people that are at the event itself to engage a little bit, either online or with the event itself. And another thing you can also do during the event is to take lots of photographs, um, not necessarily to post right from there, but to have lots of photographs for future events, to have photographs to help promote next year's World Migratory Bird Day, and to just take lots and lots of pictures and to reshare anything that you've been tagged on social media on the day of the event. So anybody that's attending your event that tags you and wants to share their photos with you, repost it. Be social. It goes back to being social with your Instagram posts or your Facebook posts, and just build a community online as well as part of the event itself. Another thing that is also really helpful for us is so I work for Environment for the Americas, and one of the things that we'd love to see is all of the photographs that people tag us in from their World Migratory Bird Day events across the world. And the only way that we really get to see those is by you all tagging us in your photographs. And so when you tag us and you join the official hashtags of the campaign in your photos or your posts, we're able to see those and we're able to also share those as well. And this is just, it really comes down to the heart of the campaign, which is building a community across the world for the conservation and education on birds. And so by contributing these posts and these tags, that is how we can build a community with each other. And we also just love seeing your photos and resharing them. And so for those of you that are not using any social media, you can also email me or one of your respective coordinators for your region photographs and maybe a write-up about your event and how it went. And we can also share them that way on our social medias. We love sharing your photos. It's one of the things we really enjoy is seeing how your events go and how they turn out. And so the only way for us to actually see those photographs are for you to tag us or to send them to either my email or to your coordinator's email so that they can get them over to me. And, and it really does come down to encouraging interaction and community building through content that you're creating, but also that your community is creating. So really just, resharing, participating, making your event more than just on the ground, but by having a digital presence is again to help promote not just the events that you're hosting this year, but all events that you may be hosting in the future. And so all the photographs that you take, you can store those and keep them for your next year's promotional materials, whether it's a print material or a digital material. So just the more things that you collect, the more photographs that you collect, the more you're able to promote your event and the more you're able to connect with the larger World Migratory Bird Day community. And so here's just a couple photos I chose. These are from our social medias and our last World Migratory Bird Day events from the last couple of years. And so you can see that these are good quality photographs. These are the type of things that you should be posting. You know, they're the very clear photographs. They show what kind of events and activities will be taking place during your World Migratory Bird Day event. And these are just really good examples of photographs that you could be taking and sharing during your event or after your event has happened. And also photographs that you can hold on to for your promotional materials for the next year. So I just wanted to share a couple of these with you just because I think they're just really good examples of the kind of things that you can be sharing. Okay, so now I'm going to invite my colleague, Paulina Gutierrez, to talk a little bit about creating engaging social media. Paulina is on the social media team for Environment for the Americas. She also created all of our event promotional materials for our own World Migratory Bird Day event in Colorado. Everything from print materials to newspaper advertisements, as well as just a lot of our social media advertising the event. So yeah, Paulina, if you want to go ahead and take it away, I can get to the next slide for you.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, hola, mucho gusto. My name is Paulina, and I am going to talk a little bit about creating engaging social media posts. So for this slide, I'm going to dive into talking about the importance of representing yourself authentically while also acknowledging the importance of getting the message across of what you are promoting to your audience or your community and how these two go hand in hand by finding that balance between the two. So being your authentic self is super important nowadays in the social media world. Ser auténtico es muy importante. It's important that your content does not sound robotic and it sounds human, and finding a way to make your content authentically you, knowing that there is a person behind the screen that is super passionate about what they're doing, and I'm going to sell you on this, and this is why you should come to my event. So we're all gathered here in this webinar for a common purpose, and that is to promote a World Migratory Bird Day event. And we're all trying to find ways to raise awareness about World Migratory Bird Day and the incredible phenomenon that is bird migration. Our goal is to inspire others to share our passion on this topic. And I think the most effective way to do that is by demonstrating the same drive, the same enthusiasm, the same passion that you have for this topic, and then being able to share that with others and building that community, but doing it all through social media. So yeah, that goes hand in hand with communicating the mission of your organization or the topic that you are promoting. So it's very important that at the end of the day, you know what you're talking about, you know your stuff, and you are ready for any questions that may come your way from any of like your followers or the people that are online, and everything. So because at the end of the day, you are educating and you are informing people on this topic. So yeah, the goal is to sell them through social media. And like, of course, like Alex said, definitely don't give too much away because at the end of the day, you are still representing the organization, and you want to make sure that, their reputation is absolutely perfect at the end of the day. So yeah, and you want to attract like-minded followers and supporters to come into, this space that you are creating and being like, this is why bird migration is absolutely amazing. And we can go to the second slide. So I put a little bit of philosophia into today's webinar. So I'm going to talk about ethos, pathos, and logos. So ethos, pathos, and logos are made of persuasion used to convince audiences. So ethos this goes in hand with storytelling, with ethics, credibility, and trust. So some examples are partnerships, scientific research data, some quotes or endorsements from experts that are actually doing behind the scenes work from the topic that we are trying to get across. So storytelling enhances ethos by establishing trustworthiness through authentic and transparent communication. So, you want to present yourself more relatable and trustworthy to your audience in the community that you're building. And with pathos is my absolute favorite, just because that's where I'm just very passionate about what it is that I'm doing when I'm doing social media work. That's where I'm like, okay, I am going to absolutely do the best I can so I can, get this audience to like what I am doing. And at the end of the day, sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, but at the end of the day, I showed my passion, and that is all that mattered. So pathos has passion, it's passion, emotions, and values. And some examples are like personal experiences, sympathetic stories, photography, jokes, it's obviously super important, like Alex said, to take lots and lots of photos. So stories appeal to pathos by creating emotions like joy, empathy, or inspiration. Using emotions when your storytelling resonates with the audience on a much more deeper level, making them more likely to engage and remember your content. So at the end of the day, you want to inspire, and you want to make sure that you kind of like left something in people's brains as to why we should, why should I come to your event? And this is why. And some other thing, and sometimes like hitting them with the emotions, is really important. Like an example, it's like, did you know that your porta lights affects the migrating birds at night? And they're like, oh no, why? And then you tell them the reason why, and then that hits home, and it's that emotions that you're portraying out there. You want to put those emotions through your social media platforms. And for logos, that's logic, reasoning, and proof. That appeals to the audience's reasoning. So storytelling incorporates, this incorporates the storytelling through logical reasoning by presenting facts, pictures, or evidence that support your evidence and everything. So combining all these topics together, ethos, pathos, and logos, creates emotional, trustworthy storytelling with logical reasoning that make your content more persuasive and just more impactful altogether. So this is an example of a not so great post. So I put, what is wrong with this post? So one, it has no location. It's just a beautiful photo from a hotel. It's super vague. Like, we need more, give us more. The audience wants more. So I feel like when you're creating social media, your goal is you want to take your audience you want to just teleport them to another world on their little phone, where they're just like, wow, that was so great, and excuse me, through the power of storytelling, you want it to come like from the heart. And it's all about creating a narrative that captivates and resonates and immerses them into the experience that you're sharing. So yeah, that's definitely a way that you can portray, your event through social media, like telling them, like, just giving them facts, or just saying, this is why bird migration is absolutely amazing, and there's so much more that you need to know, showing them that passion, that drive, inspire them to want to come to your event. And it can totally be made through social media, because you yourself are also passionate about these things. So it won't be hard to portray that, because you're out here doing the same thing too. So the small details in your social media content definitely make a huge difference. Like, yeah, we can go to the next one. So this is one that I made a while ago. This was for one of our interns, so for 2023, I believe. And I did, I'm not gonna go into detail and read it because I know it's long, but the first one, I made sure that it was like captivating, and it was a quote directly from the intern. So that's another thing. You want to make sure that your social media content is super captivating, and you're just in there, the person reads it and we're like, whoa, this is good. I want to keep on reading it regardless if it's long. So I put, and I love what Tony put. I remember a lot of something what I do for my job is I read the blog posts to make content create posts. And I remember reading hers specifically, and I remember crying because I thought it was so beautiful of how she portrayed and told her story through the storytelling of her internship experience. So we give a little quote, and then the second paragraph is saying, you know, this is what Tony, the intern, was doing, and you know, it's talking about sea turtle hatchlings and a little bit of the facts of how sea turtle hatchlings always remember the birth of where, like, their home of where they came from, where they were birthed. And so these Tony and her team are coming back to this place to maybe to see if these turtles will come back, and then they can nest their sea turtles as well. So it's like really just, this is just a good example of building that audience. And this post also did really well on social media. So that's another thing. And also, I want to point out this one, I put the location on there. So also, like, you know, where this is coming from. This came straight from Padre Island National Seashore. And I also put a little, like, the photos at the end, because sometimes people don't know what's going on in photos. And sometimes you just need to put a little description of what is happening in the photos. And it's super helpful to know what's happening in the photo, so you get more of a better understanding of what is going on. So I also put a little, like, the little cameras of like what each picture is depicting in every picture. And then of course you can never go wrong with your hashtags and how this relates to the post and how you can build a bigger audience and possibly get a bigger following and all that great stuff. And that is it from me.
Thank you, Paulina. That was super, super helpful. It's so important to be yourself on social media and to really talk about why it is what you're doing and to tell your story. And that's really what resonates with people the most. So before we move on to a question and answer section of this presentation, I would just like to recap on the things that we've talked about so far. And so I'm going to go back to just the very beginning of the presentation, which is still the most important thing, which is to know your audience and to know your community. Because once you know your audience and your community, that's really when you can figure out what communication channels are worth pursuing, what social media channels you should be doing, what kind of print promotional materials you should be creating, where you should be posting them, where should you be hanging your flyers. So know your audience, know your community, and think about why somebody would be attending your event and who is going to attend your event. And then from there, you can promote with those relative channels in your community. When it comes to social media, share things that you're tagged in, be social, respond to comments, um, really be yourself when it comes to creating your posts, showcase your event, and take lots and lots of photos. The other thing to also keep in mind is to connect with the World Migratory Bird Day global community after your event or before your event even. And the way to do that is by tagging Environment for the Americas or World Migratory Bird Day, or using the hashtags WMBD or DMAM. That is how we see all of your posts and how you can connect to the global community. Okay, so we're going to open it up for a question and answer. So those of you that are tuned in live and aren't watching on Zoom, you can write your questions in the chat and we can discuss them here. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can leave questions in the comment section of the YouTube video and we will try to respond to them as timely as we can. And any other questions that you may have, you can always reach out to your respective WMBD coordinator for your region, and they would be more than happy to answer any questions about organizing your event or promoting your event. So let's just go ahead and check the chat. Miguel, are there any other questions that you've been receiving that we can go ahead and answer?
No, Alex, I think everything was very educational, and especially for educators who are starting in thinking and planning their events. Ah, estoy abriendo la sección de preguntas para los educadores. Si tienen alguna pregunta para Paulina o para Alex, por favor, puede colocarla en el chat o puede levantar la mano o también abrir su micrófono. Está por acá educadores que nos han acompañado todos los entrenamientos, como Ariadna Tubón, y también está la profesora Ana Agreda. Por acá tenemos la primera pregunta. Douglas Dillon, ¿quieres abrir tu micrófono?
Hello, my friends. Can you tell me which of the networks is more important, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok for these kind of purposes?
Yeah, so it goes back to what I was saying earlier of knowing your audience and your community and who is going to be attending your event, and then what channels those participants in the audience would be using the most. But also which ones are you familiar with? So if you're familiar with using Facebook and you know that a large part of your audience is going to be using Facebook, then that's going to be a really good resource for you for promoting your event. Um, all of these social media channels do have a little bit of difference in the kind of things that they promote. So, TikTok is obviously a lot of short form video. So if you're really good at creating video, and you know that your audience is going to be on TikTok, you can certainly use that. Same with Instagram. If you like taking photographs and you know that your audience is going to be using Instagram, then you should certainly be using Instagram. But to mention what I was talking about earlier is instead of trying to do all of the social media channels, really think about your audience and what channels they're using, and then just pick 3 or less than 3 that you know how to use and do those well. So, and what I mean by doing those well is to be engaging, to create good in content that's clear, good photographs, good descriptions, lots of information about your event, but also by posting regularly. And by regularly, I don't mean posting every single day, although you certainly can. But if you post a few times a week on those channels, it's going to become much more familiar with your audience, and they're going to be able to engage with you a lot more, and they're going to be prepared for your event, and they're going to know when your event is, so that the time that it comes up, they're going to know where to go, when it's going to be, and what to kind of expect. So so your question is which of the platforms is the most important? And the answer is really to think about your community, to think about your audience, to think about who you want to bring to your event and what channels they will be using and what channels they will be seeing, and then do those ones if you have the ability to use those channels. So that's not really a one is greater than all the others. It's more of what is the best channels for your community.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Next question is, what is our focused audience? Are we targeting the global audience or a specific audience? So the global audience is really, it's not down to this level of events, of localized events that we are all hosting. And the reason like we're all here in this presentation today is to learn how to promote our own events in our community. So we're not necessarily engaging with a global audience. Really, what we're trying to do here is bring people to our events in our community. So it's going to be a very specific audience to your community. And so, it's very easy to say, well, I want everybody to come, but every community is different, and every event is different. All of our event hosts here and with World Migratory Bird Day have very different events. A lot of them are for the entire family, or just for children, or maybe just for birders that are adults. So it really depends on your community and who your audience is. And so to think about and identify your audience, you have to think about how old are they? What languages do they speak? Where are they located? And these kind of questions will help you narrow down and understand who your audience actually is. And so the audiences that you're going to be promoting to are not necessarily a completely global audience. It's going to be specific for your community and your event. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Alice. I just want to add something that can be related with these questions. When we think in World Migratory Bird Day, we have a conservation annual theme, in this case, protect insects, protect birds, and that is a global message. That is the theme that unify all educators around the globe. And we want to also target a specific audience in our local community. So that's why we celebrate World Migratory Bird Day 2 times every year, but people can celebrate any day of the year and make this theme something very local, finding insects and finding birds that works very well for their educational events.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Miguel. This World Migratory Bird Day is very different from all the other ones we've had in the past, and it's because we're including more species than ever before by including all of these insects. So it is a wider audience than it's ever been before. So you can actually promote to people that are not just interested in birds and conservation of birds and wildlife, but in insects as well. So it really is a larger audience than it's ever been before. And it's just a different avenue to promote your event. Okay, let's see if
Super.
there's any other.
Thank you. Paulina, do you want to add something before close the activity? Any advice? Paulina just went in a great conference about social media. Do you have something very key to share with the public?
Yeah, I think just I did go to the social media, and I think the most important thing that I realized is that, I feel like on social media sometimes people want to be different. You are putting a facade, you're not being yourself just so you can attract more followers and a bigger audience like that. But I truly feel like if you really want to attract the perfect people to your page, or to what you are trying to promote, then I would say it's so important to just be you and be just authentically yourself. And I can't stress that enough. I know that was what my whole slide was on, pero de veras es muy importante ser auténticamente tú. And that's just what I want to put out there. Like, if your passion is, and I feel like you're here for a reason, and you're here wanting to learn more about how to promote your event on World Migratory Bird Day. I know when I go out there and I'm telling people, like, please come to our event because birds are so cool. And they're like, well, why are they cool? I'm like, well, let me tell you all about it. Let me tell you why they are so cool, because I myself am so passionate about these things, and I'm showing you how cool they are because I myself, it's just me being me, and because I love this. So yeah, I can't stress that enough of how important it is to just go out there and, just ingrain some facts about birds and about insects, about what you're doing and how cool this topic is that we're on, and just continue to share that with your community so then they can share it on with other people. And yeah, but I'm so happy that I got to be here. Gracias por invitarme, Miguel. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Bueno,
such a great point, Paulina, of just being yourself and to tell your story authentically from your position, whether it's, taking photographs on the day of your event and posting them right then and there and showing people what is happening, but also, we're all coordinators of these events because we're passionate about birds and bird conservation, and we want to share that with people. So by just being your authentic self and sharing that, you're going to attract a lot more people than you might think, than if you tried to be something other than yourself. So that is such a great point, Paulina. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. I think that might be all the questions for now. So thank you everybody for joining us. And yeah, if we didn't get to any of your questions, or if you thought of something after the presentation has concluded, you can rewatch this video on YouTube. And for those of us that are watching on YouTube now, you can add your questions into the comment section and we can respond to those there. I'll pass it over to Miguel and he'll talk a little about our upcoming webinars.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, everything was so great during these trainings. I hope educators enjoy a lot of this information, help prepare a better event, advertising social medias, relate their activities with the insects and bird. We just want to share that we will have some two more webinars, sorry. One will be in Portuguese, just a special webinar for educators in Brazil. Then the second one will be a webinar in French that will help educators in Canada, French Guiana, and some islands in the Caribbean. So thank you very much for joining every Thursday night this World Migratory Bird Day series. We hope see you in the next month with great activities and we will waiting excited for see what your creativity do with the conservation team. And yeah, that's it for me now. Thank you everybody for stay here, and officially we can conclude this last training. Thank you, Paulina, and thank you, Alex, for your experience. And super. Muchas gracias a todos por esperarse hasta la última sesión. Afortunadamente, ya este es el último entrenamiento para los educadores del Día Mundial de las Aves Migratorias y los invitamos a 2 entrenamientos especiales, que será uno en portugués para educadores en Brasil y uno más para el lenguaje será en francés para la Guayana Francesa, algunas islas en el Caribe y Canadá. Entonces, hasta el próximo semana y no se olvide de compartir todos sus eventos con nosotros. Estaremos contentos de escuchar y compartir todos sus eventos creativos en nuestras redes sociales. Hasta luego.